The house was empty. Not just quiet, empty. No furniture. No pictures on the walls. No dishes in the sink. Not even the cheap little rug she bought last year that I always tripped over. Just a hollow space where my life used to be. For a moment, I thought maybe I had walked into the wrong house. Maybe I had been away too long, and my memory was playing tricks on me. But then I saw it. A single wine glass sat on the kitchen counter. Half full. Red lipstick smeared on the rim. Next to it, a crumpled shirt. A man's shirt. Not mine. And then I heard the sound. A quiet, muffled moan coming from our bedroom. Her voice. The creak of the bed, our bed. A hushed laugh. A whispered, "Harder." The front door was wide open behind me. I could leave. I could pretend I never came back. But instead I took a step forward. Because this story didn't start here. It started months ago. I should have known. Looking back, the signs were all there, hidden in plain sight, like cracks in a glass that only show when the light hits just right. But I was too blind, too trusting, too in love to see them. Or maybe I did see them, I just didn't want to believe it. The beginning of the distance. Before I left for my last deployment, Jessica was different. It was small things at first, little shifts in her energy. She used to light up when I walked through the door, her arms around my neck before I could even drop my bag. But somewhere along the way, that stopped. Instead, I'd come home, and she'd be on her phone, barely glancing up. She used to text me at random times during the day. "I miss you," or "Can't wait to see you later." But then it became shorter, colder. "Busy. Talk later." Sometimes, no reply at all. The worst part? She stopped touching me. Jessica was always the one to pull me into bed, to kiss me slow and deep, to run her hands over my chest while I held her close. But suddenly it was like I was sleeping next to a stranger. "I'm just tired, babe. Work has been stressful. You're overthinking things." Excuses? Soft lies, whispered between sheets that no longer smelled like us. The nights out that didn't include me. Then came the nights out. At first, it was just once a month. Girls' night. Wine and gossip, coming home tipsy but still curling up beside me. Then it was every 2 weeks. Then every weekend. "It's just a little fun. You don't want me to have friends? Stop being paranoid." I wasn't paranoid. I was uneasy. She started dressing up more, wearing outfits I hadn't seen before, perfume that wasn't for me. She used to get excited when I told her she looked beautiful, but now she'd just roll her eyes. And then, the phone habits changed. She started locking it. Keeping it face down. Smiling at the screen before quickly shoving it into her bag. If I asked who she was texting, she'd just laugh. "No one. You're being weird." I wanted to trust her. I needed to trust her. So I convinced myself I was being jealous, insecure. Until the first real warning sign. The first lie I caught. One night she told me she was having dinner with her friend Emma. Said they were going to some new Italian place downtown. But later that night, I got a text from Emma. "Hey! Hope you and Jess are having a good night. Haven't seen her in a while, miss you guys." I felt my stomach drop. When Jessica came home hours later, I asked her how dinner was. She smiled, kissed my cheek, and told me it was great. Told me Emma was doing well. Told me the food was amazing. She lied to my face. I didn't call her out. I wanted to see how far she'd take it. And she didn't even blink. That was the night I realized something was wrong. The goodbye that didn't feel right. The morning I left for deployment, Jessica barely cried. Every other time, she held on to me like she couldn't breathe without me. She'd sob into my uniform, whispering, "Come home safe," over and over. But this time, she just gave me a soft hug. A quick kiss. "I love you," I told her. She smiled. But it wasn't the smile I remembered. "I love you too." But it sounded empty. And as I walked away, boarding the plane that would take me thousands of miles away from home, I had a horrible thought I couldn't shake. What if she didn't mean it? War hardens you. It teaches you to expect the worst, to never ignore your instincts, and to always be ready for an enemy attack. But what do you do when the enemy isn't in some distant battlefield? What do you do when the attack comes from home? The first seed of doubt. The days were long, the nights longer. Deployment was a cycle of exhaustion, sweat, and waiting. Waiting to come home. Waiting to hold her again. But Jessica? She wasn't waiting for me. At first, it was the small things. Messages left unread for hours. One-word replies. Calls that always seemed rushed. Hey babe, just checking in. Miss you. Hey. Miss you too. Gotta go. Gotta go where? Then came the excuses. Sorry, I fell asleep. I was out with Emma. Work has been crazy. I wanted to believe her. I told myself I was overthinking, that maybe I was just stressed. But deep down I knew. I fucking knew. And then came the message that changed everything. The photo that broke me. It was around midnight when I got the text. Hey man, you okay? I saw Jess at a bar, but she wasn't alone. My stomach twisted. I stared at the screen, heart pounding, hands cold. This couldn't be real. I forced my fingers to type a reply. Who was she with? 3 dots appeared. Then a response. Some guy. Didn't recognize him. Thought you should know. And then, the picture came through. Jessica. Sitting in a dimly lit bar, leaning in close to a man I had never seen before. His hand was on her thigh. Her lips were inches from his ear. And she was smiling. Not the fake smile she gave me when I left. A real one. The same smile she used to give me. The breaking point. I stared at that picture for so long I thought my eyes would bleed. My mind went blank, like my brain had short-circuited, refusing to process the betrayal. One of my guys, Tyler, noticed something was wrong. You good, man? I swallowed hard, locking my phone. I wasn't good. But what the hell could I do? I was thousands of miles away. I couldn't storm into that bar, rip that guy away from my wife, and demand answers. I was trapped in a desert with a gun in my hands while she was back home fucking smiling with another man. I didn't sleep that night. The web of lies unravels. The next day, I called Jessica. She didn't answer. I called again. Voicemail. I texted. No response. And then, hours later, she finally replied. Hey babe. Sorry, crazy day. What's up? I stared at the screen, my heart hammering. What's up? What's up is that I know. What's up is that I saw you. I clenched my jaw, my fingers tight around my phone. I wanted to explode, to demand an explanation. Instead, I played dumb. How was your night? Boring. Just stayed in and watched Netflix. She lied. She fucking lied. My stomach twisted into knots. I wanted to call her out, but I held back. I needed to know more. So I did something I never thought I'd have to do. I started digging. The truth comes crashing down. I reached out to a few guys back home. Asked if they'd seen Jessica around. What I got back shattered me. Jessica wasn't just seen once. She had been seen at different bars, restaurants, even leaving a club with the same guy. Always late at night. Always looking too close, too comfortable. One of my buddies even said he overheard her laughing about how free she felt now that I was gone. Free. That word broke me in a way no bullet ever could. Then, the final nail in the coffin. A different friend, Ryan, worked security at a hotel. He called me up one night, voice hesitant. Man. I didn't know if I should tell you, but Jess was here last night. She checked in with a guy. I felt like the world had stopped turning. You sure it was her? Silence. Yeah, man. I'm sorry. The moment I knew it was over. I stared out at the endless sand, my chest tight, my mind racing. It wasn't just some drunken mistake. It wasn't just one time. She had a whole fucking affair. While I was out here, risking my life, she was back home, playing house with someone else. And the worst part? She didn't even seem to feel bad about it. That was when I realized I had already lost her. I just hadn't accepted it yet. Coming home wasn't supposed to feel like this. The moment my boots hit American soil, I should have felt relief, that rush of comfort knowing I was finally safe, finally back where I belong. But there was no comfort, no warmth. There was only rage. I had spent months drowning in uncertainty, piecing together the ugly truth one betrayal at a time. But now, it was time to hear it from her. No more texts, no more hiding behind a phone screen. I wanted to look her in the eyes when she tried to lie her way out of this. And I wanted to watch her break when she realized I already knew everything. The homecoming that wasn't. I didn't tell Jessica when I was coming home. Normally, she'd be waiting for me at the airport, jumping into my arms like a scene from a damn movie. Not this time. This time, I took a cab straight to our house. No warning. No chance for her to clean up whatever mess she had made. The ride felt like forever. My fingers clenched into fists, my mind racing with a million different scenarios. Would she be alone? Would she lie? Would she pretend to cry and try to make me feel like the bad guy? By the time the car pulled up to our house, my heart was hammering. But nothing could have prepared me for what I saw. The house was empty. Not quiet. Empty. No furniture. No pictures. No Jessica. Nothing. For a second, I thought I had the wrong address. But then, my eyes landed on the kitchen counter. A single wine glass. Half full. Red lipstick smudged on the rim. Next to it, a crumpled shirt. A man's shirt. Not mine. And then I heard it. A quiet, muffled moan coming from the bedroom. A soft giggle. Jessica's voice. The creak of the bed, our bed. Everything inside me snapped. I wasn't thinking anymore. I wasn't even breathing. I just moved. The confrontation. I slammed the bedroom door open so hard it shook the walls. Jessica's scream was the first thing I heard. Then, the shuffle of bodies, the scramble of limbs as the bastard in my bed dove for the covers. And then, her eyes met mine. For a split second, she looked terrified. Then, just as quickly, the fear vanished, replaced with something colder. Annoyance. Like I was the one inconveniencing her. "What the fuck are you doing here?" she snapped, yanking the sheets around her bare body. I stared at her, barely hearing her words over the blood rushing in my ears. "That's my question." She rolled her eyes. She actually rolled her fucking eyes. The guy, some scrawny, wannabe pretty boy, sat there frozen, looking like he'd rather be anywhere else. Smart choice. Jessica sighed, like she was exhausted just from dealing with me. "Look, I was gonna tell you." I laughed. A sharp, humorless sound. "Tell me what? That you've been fucking someone else? That you've been lying to me for months? That you let some other guy into our bed while I was out fighting for us?" Her jaw clenched. "It's not like that." "Then what the hell is it like, Jess? Enlighten me." She didn't answer. She just crossed her arms, her expression shifting into something colder. Defensive. "You left me," she said finally. I blinked. "What? You were gone for months," she continued, voice rising. "What was I supposed to do? Just sit around and wait?" I felt my hands shake. My chest burned. "Yes, Jessica. That's what a wife fucking does," she scoffed. Like I was the crazy one. "Oh, come on. You knew this wasn't working. We were miserable. And you weren't even here." I stared at her, something inside me cracking wide open. "So this is my fault?" I asked, voice eerily calm. "I'm just saying. You're just saying you're a lying, cheating bitch." Her lips parted, eyes flashing with something close to shock. Like she actually thought I'd let her get away with this. Behind her, the other guy shifted awkwardly, clearly regretting every decision that led him here. Good. I took a slow step forward, locking eyes with him. "Get out." He didn't move. "Now." The guy didn't need to be told a third time. He grabbed his clothes and bolted, barely pausing to pull his jeans on. The door slammed shut behind him. And then, it was just me and Jessica. The lies fall apart. She didn't cry. Didn't beg. She just sighed, running a hand through her hair. I was gonna tell you, she muttered again. Bullshit. She shrugged. Okay, fine. Maybe I wasn't. Maybe I was just waiting for the right time. I laughed, shaking my head. And when was that? After I came home and found you still in his arms? She didn't answer. I stared at her, at the woman I had loved for years, and realized I didn't recognize her anymore. The Jessica I knew, the woman who swore she'd wait for me, who kissed me with tears in her eyes before every deployment, she didn't exist. This was someone else. Someone cold. Someone who looked me in the face and felt nothing. I loved you, I said quietly. I know. And that was it. No apology. No regret. Just indifference. I let out a slow breath, feeling the weight lift from my chest. I want a divorce. For the first time that night, Jessica looked surprised. Like she thought I'd stay and fight for her. Not a chance. Fine. She didn't even hesitate. And just like that, it was over. I turned and walked out of that house without looking back. And I swore to myself, she would never break me again. Leaving that house should have felt like freedom. Instead, it felt like standing in the wreckage of a battlefield, staring at the destruction and wondering how the hell it got this bad. I had survived war. I had seen men fall, had watched brothers in arms bleed out on foreign soil. But nothing could have prepared me for the slow, suffocating pain of knowing the woman I loved had chosen someone else. And worse? That she hadn't even cared. The silence that followed. Jessica didn't call. Didn't text. Didn't chase after me. It was almost laughable. We had spent years together, shared a life, made promises, and she let it all go without a fight. I shouldn't have been surprised. This was the same woman who had spent months lying to my face, who had made our home a playground for her affair while I was overseas. But knowing that didn't stop the sting of it. The first night after I left, I found myself in a cheap motel, staring at the ceiling, replaying everything over and over. Her voice. Her expression. That goddamn wine glass on the counter. Sleep didn't come easy. When it did, I dreamt of her. Of us. Of a past that was already dead and buried. I woke up angry. Drowning in rage. Anger was easier than pain. It was sharper, cleaner. For weeks, I let it consume me. I threw myself into work, hit the gym harder than ever, avoided anyone who brought up Jessica's name. My friends tried to check in, tried to get me to talk, but I wasn't ready. I wasn't ready to admit that I had loved a ghost. That the woman I thought I knew had died long before I ever caught her in bed with someone else. So instead, I did what I knew best. I kept moving forward, one foot in front of the other. Because stopping meant feeling. And feeling meant breaking. The divorce papers. A month after I left, the papers arrived. No note. No message. Just cold, printed words and a signature where her name used to mean something. She had signed them without hesitation. I should have felt relieved. Instead, I felt like someone had taken a knife and carved me out from the inside. I had spent so long fighting for us. For a life we were supposed to have. And in the end, she had let it all go with a fucking signature. But maybe that was the closure I needed. Jessica hadn't been mine for a long time. And now? I wasn't hers either. Letting go. The day I signed those papers, I did something I hadn't done in years. I took off my wedding ring. For so long, it had felt like a part of me, something solid, something real. But now, it was just a reminder of what I had lost. I placed it on the motel nightstand, stared at it for a long moment, then walked away. And I didn't look back. Because the truth was, Jessica had already left me long before I ever walked out that door. I was just the last one to realize it. It's strange how fast life moves on, even when you feel like yours has come to a screeching halt. One day, you're standing in the ashes of everything you built, wondering how the hell you got here. And then, before you even realize it, the world keeps spinning, time keeps pushing forward, and you're left with two choices: stay buried in the past or start climbing out. I chose to climb. Rebuilding myself. The divorce was finalized 2 months after I signed the papers. No last-minute fights, no desperate pleas. Jessica was gone, and for the first time in years I was free. At first, I didn't know what to do with that freedom. I had spent so long living for someone else, defining myself as a husband, as a man with a home to come back to. And now? I had nothing but an empty apartment, and a closet full of memories I wanted to burn. So, I did the only thing that made sense: I started over. I moved to a new city. Took a promotion I had been putting off. Cut off every toxic reminder of my past. And slowly, piece by piece, I started to feel like myself again. Letting go of the past. Jessica tried reaching out once. A single text 2 months after the divorce was finalized. "Hey, hope you're doing okay." That was it. No apology. No regret. Just a hollow attempt at pretending she still cared. I stared at the message for a long time. And then? I deleted it. No response. No second chances. She had made her choice. And now, I was making mine. A future without her. For the first time in a long time, I wasn't angry anymore. Jessica had broken me. Had taken everything we had and set fire to it without a second thought. But in the end, she had done me a favor. Because now, I was free. Free from the lies. Free from the hurt. Free to live for myself. And as I stood there, looking out at a city full of possibilities, I realized something. I wasn't just moving on. I was finally living again. They say time heals all wounds. I don't know if that's true. Some wounds don't heal, they just become a part of you. They shape you, remind you of where you've been, of what you've survived. And that's what Jessica was to me now, a scar. A painful memory that had faded, but never completely disappeared. And honestly, that was okay. Because scars don't mean you're broken. They mean you survived. What I learned. Looking back, I see things clearly now. Jessica didn't ruin me. She freed me. She taught me the hardest lesson of my life, that love isn't just words. It's choices. It's effort. And the second someone stops choosing you, they don't deserve you anymore. I spent so much time wondering what I did wrong, how I could have been better, how I could have saved us. But the truth is, I was never the problem. She was. Her selfishness. Her lies. Her weakness. And now, she's nothing but a chapter in my past. A story I'll tell once in a while, a reminder of the man I used to be, and the man I became because of it. To anyone going through this. If you're reading this, and you're in the middle of your own storm, just know it gets better. You'll hurt. You'll break. You'll question everything. But one day, you'll wake up and realize that the worst thing that ever happened to you was also the best thing that ever happened to you. Because it set you free. It made you stronger. And it gave you a second chance at a life you actually deserve. A life without them. And trust me, that's the best revenge of all. Leave a comment with your thoughts on the story. And subscribe to our channel so you don't miss new interesting stories. See you soon.